Oh, I just realized my microphone was on mute, but and now it's not. So, welcome everybody to Barca News's live streams scheduled every Monday and Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is not to be confused with the live streams that I do right after a match ends to analyze the match. And since we didn't have any matches this weekend, I wasn't able to do any post-match analysis. But there is one match this weekend against Espanyol, where if we win, we could become La Liga champions. So definitely stay tuned for that post-match analysis, where hopefully we will be celebrating winning La Liga title. Now, I started a little bit late this stream because there's a lot of crazy news for today. You know, I said in yesterday's video that this week was going to be insane because we were going to find out what Busquets' final decision was going to be, whether he's going to stay or leave. Deco's going to be landing in the city of Barcelona to see if he's going to become Matteo Alemani's replacement. And when I said that this week was going to be crazy, I didn't imagine how crazy it was going to be because today was an absolute roller coaster of news. And it's only Monday. So we have 6 more days to go. And today was already an insane day for news. But let's start with quick highlights, starting with it looks like Al-Hilal, the Saudi club, are very insistent on having Messi. And there are reports saying that Messi is actually much closer to joining Al-Hilal than Barcelona. We'll talk about that. There's also talk about how Raphinha could be the key for Barcelona to unlocking this summer transfer market. And finally, we talked about Fabricio Diaz several weeks ago. Even though it was thought that that deal had been closed, it looks like it wasn't. And Fabricio Diaz could be slipping away from the grasp of Barcelona. And finally, I have a bombshell news for you today regarding La Liga and the feasibility plan. So let's start. As always, I'm going to do a segment of news. We'll head to the chat. We'll get a discussion going. And imagine that discussion today is going to be pretty intense because, like I said, it's been a crazy day for news. Total roller coaster. Starting that early in the early hours of the morning, Marçal Llorente dropped the huge bombshell on Twitter saying that Lionel Messi will be joining Al-Hilal in the summer. Now, as I said yesterday's video, Leo Messi's father has officially met with Al-Hilal in order to discuss the interests of the Saudi club in Lionel Messi. You know, we've been hearing about Al-Hilal for quite some time. And then finally that meeting happened. And in that meeting, Al-Hilal confirmed the rumors that we've been hearing about for several weeks, that the Saudi club are willing to pay Leo Messi 400 million euros per season. That's an insane amount of money. I can't imagine how any club could afford that, because it seems that Al-Hilal really want Messi in the Saudi league. The Saudis really want to bring as many stars and media attention to the league. They're trying to invest into their league and improve it. So they're very insistent on bringing Messi. And today, Marçal Llorente dropped the bomb saying that Messi will be joining Al-Hilal in the summer. Now, you might ask, who is Marçal Llorente? Well, he's a journalist in Spain. I think he's based out of Madrid. He was one of those journalists that Bartomeu had paid off so he can make him look good in the media. So you might say, well, why should we listen to this guy? He's obviously not an ethical reporter. He was just a propaganda for Bartomeu. And I would usually agree with this statement, but Marçal Llorente, as of late, has been pretty accurate about the news that he's been breaking on Twitter because, of course, Joan Laporta and his board of directors are not his friends. So Marçal Llorente has no problem in exposing or bringing news stories that affect Joan Laporta in a negative way. You know, he's the guy who broke the story that Barcelona were about to sign Ronaldinho's son, even though there was a lot of doubts about Ronaldinho's son's talents and skills. He's the guy who broke the story that 2 of the main guys of the Espai Barça project were going to resign. And he was right about those stories. And now he broke the story about Leo Messi. Now, when I saw that news, I still had a little bit of doubts just because, again, it's Marçal Llorente given his past, his connection to the previous presidency of Bartomeu. But then another guy broke a news, and that's Mohamed Bouazizi or Mohamed Bouazizi. If you're wondering who this guy is, he's pretty much the Middle Eastern version of Fabrizio Romano. Very reliable source, and he too confirmed the story that Messi will be joining Al-Hilal. Now, since those two tweets were dropped on the social media ocean, there's been a lot of back and forth. Some reporters have come out in Argentina who are close to Messi saying that that's not true, and Messi hasn't made up his mind. More reporters came out saying, no, Messi is joining Al-Hilal. Some reporters went as far as saying that Messi has already agreed to the deal and everything is closed pending the signature of the parties. And then finally, in the last hour or two, Radio Catalunya have said that Messi is indeed closer to Saudi than joining Barcelona. Now, it seems that Al-Hilal have made offers to both Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba because they want to bring those two because they knew that Messi is hesitant about going to Saudi. Messi does want to stay in Europe for at least 1 or 2 more seasons so he can be ready for the Copa America in 2024. He wants to win it again with Argentina, so he knows he has to stay in Europe to stay on top of his form. So since he was hesitant, it looks like Al-Hilal during the last few hours, they made really lucrative offers to Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba. And there's even talks about Al-Hilal making offers to Berratti to try to bring, Messi's friends to Saudi in hopes that the Argentinian would go with them. And again, lots of media outlets saying that Messi will be joining Al-Hilal this summer. Now, the bombshell news that I promised you at the beginning of this video, and this just dropped maybe 20 or 30 minutes ago, and it's being said in Spain right now that La Liga have approved Barcelona's feasibility plan. Again, huge news, changes completely everything, and that's that La Liga have approved the feasibility plan. Now, just to recap, the feasibility plan is that plan that Barcelona have presented to La Liga, where Barcelona commit themselves to offloading players worth 100 million euros worth of players that they're going to offload in the summer, 120 around there, that they're going to cut the salaries of all the high earners on the squad, that they're going to do budget cuts all across the board except for the Barca Femini, that they're going to increase their revenues, committing to pretty much to doing these austerity measures to bring back the club to a healthy financial situation. And in exchange, La Liga would give Barcelona more leeway to sign players in the summer and give them a little bit more time to reduce their wage bill by 200 million euros because Tebas had told Barcelona that they needed to reduce the wage bill by the beginning of the summer transfer market, so by June, which Barcelona knew it was impossible. So with this plan, they would be committing to all these austerity measures, and in exchange, La Liga would give Barcelona more leeway to work. Now, we've been saying for quite some time that if the feasibility plan is approved, then Barcelona would get the green light to sign Messi and to sign more players such as Gundogan, Íñigo Martinez, and probably someone for the right back position, maybe Vitor Roque, we don't know. But in the last few minutes, right before I started the stream, news is coming out of Spain that La Liga have approved the feasibility plan. This is a total game changer because, again, this would give Barcelona the leeway not only to sign players, but also to sign Lionel Messi. So this definitely changes the whole game. Now we're going to have to see how Leo Messi responds. Is he going to now consider coming to Barcelona that he knows that Barcelona can make the signing happen? Or is he going to still want to go to Saudi, where they are offering him 400 million euros, and they're also offering him the possibility of playing with his friends Busquets, Alba, and Berratti. Now, this also ties into Busquets. We still don't know what his final answer is. We expect his final answer to be given to Xavi this week about whether he's going to stay or leave. That might affect Messi's decision. Lots of things at play right now. It's going to be a crazy week. And let's see what you guys have to say in the comment section. Grandmaster Yoda, the first one to comment. What's up, Grandmaster Yoda? How you doing, man? Adedoyin says, hello, Mo. What's up? Grandmaster Yoda says, I was thinking if Messi ends up playing in right back and Amrabat comes, he could make up for Messi's lack of defense, kind of like Messi and DePaul. I think you mean if Messi plays in the right wing, not a right back. The plan is, or what's rumored, is that Xavi wants to use Messi in the midfield and not in the right wing like he used to, where they're talking about a 4-4-2 formation, diamond formation with 4 midfielders, probably being, if Busquets stays, it would be, Busquets, kind of like Busquets in here, Gabi, Pedri, and then Messi up front. Or maybe, with Frankie de Jong, obviously rotating in those position, Amrabat, if in the place of Busquets, if Busquets doesn't stay. But I don't think Messi will be playing in the right wing because I don't think he has the stamina to do it. Because, the Barcelona right wings, they run a lot up and down, defense, offense. And I don't think Messi is, at the level of being able to do that. All right, the 1975 Classic says, for me, it makes no sense to sell Raphinha. So that is next. We'll talk about that next. And Andrea, I hope I said that right. We really need to sign Amrabat. So, as I mentioned before, yes, Xavi does want to sign Amrabat. He's asked the club to please make the effort to sign him. But it would all depend on how much Fiorentina will ask for him. Amrabat does have a contract with the Serie A club until 2024. And Fiorentina know that Amrabat's value has gone up after the World Cup. So they're definitely going to look to cash in. Let's see how much money they're going to ask for. Amrabat has a market value of 25 mil, but being that he's only going to have 1 year left on his contract, that gives Barcelona more room to negotiate that price down. We also have the fact that Amrabat wants to leave. He's willing to force his way out. So that could also help us negotiate the price down. But again, it's all going to depend on Fiorentina and how much money they're going to ask for. Now, since the 1975 Classic mentioned Raphinha, that's a good segue because that's our next news segment. And it seems that Raphinha could be the key to unlocking the entire summer transfer market for Barcelona. Now, what do I mean by this? We've talked about before how Newcastle have made Barcelona a verbal offer of 85 million euros for Raphinha. There was talks about Raphinha considering leaving Barcelona so he can get more playing time, because he doesn't want to miss out on being called up for Brazil. And today, it's reports in Barcelona that the club have spoken with Raphinha. They've explained to him that that Xavi really counts on him. He wants to keep him on the squad for next season, and that for now, they are rejecting Newcastle's offer. However, if Barcelona find themselves in a bad spot in the summer transfer market, where they can maybe offload the players that they want to offload because they don't want to leave, they want to stay with their contract, or they're not getting as much money as the players as they were hoping for certain players, or maybe they don't end up, bringing in as much money as they hoped, or La Liga informs them that they need to bring in more money. If that's the case, and Barcelona need to absolutely generate money, and Barcelona will consider selling Raphinha, given his high market value and how his market value could be key and instrumental for Barcelona accomplishing all of their summer goals. Now, Raphinha was initially upset because, he considers playing in Barcelona as his dream. He's happy at the club. He wants to stay at the club. But after speaking with his agent, Deco, it seems like he's now, changed his mind a little bit. And even though he still wants to stay, he is considering leaving. Only if Xavi sits down with him and tells him, you know what, we need you to go. Then he'll go. He won't put up a fight. He understands the situation. And he also understands that leaving might be better for him because, again, next season, most likely he will go back to being Dembele's substitute. And he knows that he needs to play in time because he's fighting for his position in the Brazilian squad with no other than Anthony. That's tough competition. So he knows if he's going to beat Anthony to that position, he needs to have playing time. And if he's not going to get it at Barca, he understands that maybe it is better for him to leave. Now, is it a good decision or not? I think so because, again, the club's financial situation is just bad. We need to sell. We need to generate money, and Raphinha can generate us a lot of money in the Premier League. He's not a player that I think is Barca level. He hasn't lived up to the expectations. We bought him for 60 million euros. He came under the guys that he's going to be, this big star that's going to make a difference on the field. I haven't seen it. Yes, he has scored some goals. Yes, he has provided some assists, but that's expected when you play for Barca. I don't think he's lived up. I don't think 10 goals in all competitions is anything impressive for Barcelona. Ferran Torres has 7, and he has played half the time that Raphinha has played. Braithwaite had 9 goals when he was in Barcelona. He actually has 9 goals right now with Espanyol, and he only plays La Liga. He hasn't played any other competition. I don't think his numbers are impressive. He doesn't really generate danger on the wing. He can't dribble past players. He's not a difference maker. Yes, he does contribute to the team. He does contribute with the defensive duties, but he's not a guy that gets on the field and all of a sudden changes the course of the match. That's not him. And so if we can get 80, 90, 100 million euros for someone who's not really Barca level, I say why not? Especially if that means bringing other players like Vitor Roque, like Ilkay Gundogan, players who will actually make a difference, then why not? Anyways, let's get back to the comment section and then we'll talk about Ansu Fati next. Man, the chat is blowing up. Adam says, Foyth, Amrabat, Vitor Roque, Gundogan, Inigo, and Abde. This will happen if Messi doesn't arrive. If he does, I think Foyth, Vitor Roque, or Amrabat, one of them won't be possible. So the feasibility plan, under the feasibility plan, what they're telling us is that Barcelona will be able to sign Messi and 4 players. Abde, we wouldn't be signing him. He's already a Barca player. So we talk about Foyth, Amrabat, Vitor, Roque, Gundogan, and Inigo. So I guess one of them would have to go. I don't know who it would be. Maybe it would be Foyth because Barcelona think that if they can't sign a right back, they're okay with Koundé and Sergio Roberto filling in for that position. Maybe it could be Vitor Roque just because of his really high price tag. We'll have to see. But if Messi does come, he could generate up to 300 million euros a season, which means that Barcelona would definitely be able to sign plenty of players come in the future. All right, 1975 Classic. We should try to look to offload Dembele for me rather than Raphinha. Dembele is not going to go anywhere because Dembele is... Xavi counts on him. Dembele is a much, much more dangerous player than Raphinha. Yes, he gets injured, but even in half the season that he plays, he still makes bigger difference on the field than does Raphinha. 20-plus goal contribution. Again, not an impressive number. Not for Barcelona, at least. Maybe for a mid-table team, absolutely. For someone like Leeds United, sure, but not for Barcelona. I mean, Lewandowski has, I think, is it 30? I think it's 30 goals in all competitions, and people are talking about Lewandowski sucking this season. And he has 30, and Raphinha has 10, and we're talking about him being a star. All right, let's see, one more, and then we'll keep going. 1975 Classic says we should offload Alonso. Loan Kessi, is that what you're trying to say? Okay, so Alonso, we can't offload him because I think he has a market value of 4 or 5 million euros. He's 34 years old. Nobody's going to buy him. He doesn't really affect the financial fair play rule calculation. So if we offload him, we're still in the same position. We're not going to get anything out of it. Let's see. Augusto says, after watching Abde in the Copa del Rey final, he needs more time. Also, Raphinha's stats are very close to Neymar in his first season. Yeah, but Raphinha's no Neymar. Yes, Abde, I agree. I did watch the final of the Copa del Rey. He's definitely an electric player, someone who can make a difference, but Abde's still lacking a lot in that final decision. He makes a lot of bad decisions. He shoots the ball when he should have passed it, or passes the ball when he should have shot it. Definitely lacking experience. But you can see the flashes of brilliance in Abde. So that's why another thing is, I will see people here, we need Abde, we need Abde, we need Abde. And it's like, guys, calm down. Yes, Abde is talented, he's skilled, but people talk about bringing Abde like, if we're gonna keep Abde, it's like we're gonna be bringing in Mbappe or something. That's not the case. Abde, yes, he's skilled, he's talented, he has potential, but he's not there yet. He's not Barca level yet. This doesn't mean that he's not going to get there. He's only 20 years old, so he has plenty of margin to improve, to get better. He will have his shot in the summer. If Xavi thinks that Abde could live up to his potential, then he'll stay. But everybody keeps talking about Abde like it's a for sure thing, like he's going to come and score 50 goals every season. That's not the case. So we need to cool it a little bit, slow down, hit the brakes a little bit on the Abde situation. We're going to have to wait until the summer. Again, Abde has been great with Osasuna, but he hasn't even earned his starting spot with Osasuna. And that's Osasuna. If he can't earn a starting spot with Osasuna, what tells you he's going to earn his spot with Barcelona? And again, even if he had earned his spot and been the star of Osasuna, doesn't mean he's going to be the star of Barcelona. I'm not saying he's not, but we have to wait and see. People like to usually hype players up and then they get really disappointed. All right, next news is Ansu Fati and Ruben Neves. I talked about yesterday in the video how there was some rumors that Barcelona had given the green light to the Ansu Fati Ruben Neves swap deal, which would have seen Ansu Fati go to Wolverhampton, and in exchange, we would have gotten Ruben Neves plus 30 million euros, so a 70 million euro operation because Ruben Neves has a valuation of 40 million euros. Told you how Xavi is vehemently opposed to this operation. He doesn't want Ruben Neves on his squad. He doesn't think Ruben Neves is Barca level. He doesn't think Ruben Neves is the right pivot because he lacks defensive characteristics. And if you can't have a defensive pivot, what's the point of having a pivot to begin with? Well, today Barcelona finally put an end to those rumors and they clarified it and made it clear that no, there will be no swap deal between Ansu Fati and Ruben Neves. Xavi does not want the player. So that's not going to happen. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that Ansu Fati is not going to leave. Again, that's all going to depend on what kind of offers Barcelona receive. If Barcelona receive a very lucrative offer, then they will try to offload Fati. Again, he has a contract, so he could stay. But it is rumored that Xavi will talk to Fati, will talk to several other players at the end of the season, discuss their futures. And it's rumored that if Xavi does tell Ansu Fati, hey, I'm not going to count on you next season, then Ansu Fati will leave, even though he does want to stay. But again, all of this will heavily depend on what kind of offer Barcelona will receive. Now, there's also talks about if Barcelona wrap up La Liga title this Saturday against, I can't remember if Saturday or Sunday, this weekend against Espanyol, then we could see Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati getting a lot of minutes for the remainder of the season, kind of like one final test. Like, show me what you guys got. And then after that, Xavi could finally decide either, offload both, keep both, offload one, keep the other. But there are talks about Xavi giving plenty of minutes to Ferran and Ansu once Barcelona secure La Liga title, kind of a one last shot. All right, comment section. And then we'll talk next about Fabricio Diaz, since I did mention the pivot position. Okay. Grandmaster Yoda, there's talks that Tuchel wants Dembele at Bayern. If they're willing to pay a hefty price, would you let him go and get another good right winger? Me, yes. If we can get 100 mil for Dembele, absolutely. Sell him to Bayern and we can get someone else. The problem is Xavi is not going to sell Dembele. Xavi counts on Dembele 100%. He's the one who pretty much begged the club to keep him when Barcelona were sick of Dembele and they were ready to just be done with him. It was Xavi who begged them to please renew. So it's just not going to happen. I would, though. I personally would. Okay, let's see. Brad says, if we get rid of Fati, it needs to be straight cash. I agree. And it better be like a good 70, 80 million. Like, it needs to be a hefty transfer fee. All right, let's see. What else? David says, Mo, we spoke about Mason Greenwood loan if Raphinha is sold. I don't know if I like Greenwood. I think he has some pretty interesting characteristics as a player, but I don't think he's on Barcelona's radar. So I don't know if that loan would work. Okay, let's see. Let's get back to the news and then we'll go back to the comment section. All right, Fabricio Diaz. We talked about him several weeks ago. He's a 20-year-old pivot, plays in Uruguay for the Uruguayan club Liverpool de Montevideo. Barcelona have been eyeing him for quite some time. Very talented guy. Barcelona profile pretty much. Plays just like a Barcelona pivot. He's more described kind of like a Gabi, where he's like very intense and physical, but a lot more disciplined, if you may, where he doesn't necessarily foul as much. Now, Barcelona have been tracking him for quite some time. They've been wanting to sign him, and we had seen his agent leave the Barcelona offices a few weeks ago. And after that, there was a lot of talks that Barcelona had closed the deals and Fabricio Diaz was going to join Barcelona or the Barca Athletic this upcoming summer, where he was going to, even though he's going to be a Barca Athletic player, he was still going to train with the first team and hopefully shape him so he can be the pivot in the first squad. Well, it seems that Barcelona were not able to completely secure the deal. All the terms of the agreement are agreed to with the player and his agent and the club. So everything is agreed to there. is done. Nothing more to negotiate. The problem is his club, Liverpool de Montevideo. Seems like they now want more money. They're asking for more than 6 million euros. Barcelona were hoping to spend less than that because, again, he's a player that's going to come to the academy where he still has to form, he still has to train and learn the Barca way. He's not going to be straight up a first squad player. And now the problem is that Barcelona have 2 weeks to finalize this deal, or his offer or his price could go up. Now, Fabricio Diaz wants to come to Europe. He's already rejected several offers from big clubs in South America, including, I think it was Flamengo from Brazil who wanted to sign him. He really wants to come to Europe. But the problem is Liverpool and Montevideo are now asking for more money. Now, another problem is that we have the Under-20 World Cup right around the corner, which Fabricio Diaz will be called up to. So if he does well, then that means his price could even go up more. So Barcelona need to act ASAP. I know they don't want to pay those 6+ million euros, but I think they're going to have to, because the last thing we want is the same thing that happened with Fabricio Diaz that happened with Vitor Roque. When Barcelona were first interested in Vitor Roque, Atletico Paranaense were like, 10, 15 million euros. And then he started playing better. They're like, okay, 20, 25. Then he went to the Under-17 South American Championship. He won it with Brazil. He was the top scorer. And boom, all of a sudden, Atletico Paranaense won 50 million. So we went from paying 10 to 15 million all the way to 50. So we don't want that to happen with Fabricio Diaz. Obviously, we do want him to go to the World Cup and do a great job, because that would be proof that he's good enough for Barca. But we don't want him doing that before Barcelona can secure this deal. And the next thing you know, his clubs are asking for 20, 30 million euros. And then we have to miss out on another very, very promising player coming out of South America. Now, let's go back to the chat section. And then the last news segment is about one more possible candidate to replace Matteo Alemany. But let's see what you guys are saying. Okay. Where did we leave off? Brad says Ferran has been playing on the wrong wing almost the whole year. I agree. Yeah, Ferran does better on the right. Whenever he has played on the right, he has done better. But let's see what they can do these final matches. Raul says literally an abusive criminal talking about Greenwood. I'd rather not talk about these kind of things unless, there's an actual final court judgment. As far as I know, there isn't, but I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. Adam says, Foyt, Amrabat, Vitor Roque are a must-have. One of Inigo Martinez or Gundogan should be offloaded. Inigo and Gundogan are priority over Foyt, Amrabat, and Vitor Roque. So I don't know if Barcelona would do that. Rafe says there's a lot of free agents, even big talent. Yes, but just because someone is free doesn't mean they're gonna fit in a Barca style of play. All right, let's see. Well, else. David says, finally caught you live and it's 5 a.m. Thank you, David. And I appreciate the commitment. 5 a.m. Where exactly are you? Anyways, all right. Final bit of news, and then Grandmaster Yoda, I saw your comment about the kit. We'll talk about it, I promise. Last bit of news. Fernando Navarro, new candidate or possible candidate. I talked about this extensively in yesterday's video about the 3 possible candidates that Barcelona are considering to replace Matteo Alemany. We have Deco, a former Barcelona player who's currently an agent, a footballing agent. He's Raphinha's agent. We have Fernando Carro. He is the CEO of Bayer Leverkusen, someone who was born in Barcelona, who's a member of the Football Club Barcelona. And then the third one is Vitor Bahia. He's the vice president of Porto. He was a former Barcelona goalkeeper back in the day. And now we have a possible new candidate, and that candidate is Fernando Navarro. Now, Fernando Navarro, you might have heard his name. He's the sporting CEO of Sevilla, has done a wonderful job with that club. He was also a Barcelona player. He came up through the Barcelona academy, through La Masia. He played with Barcelona back in the day. He's now the sporting CEO of Sevilla. He's a very, very close friend of Xavi. Xavi relies on him a lot for advice whenever Barcelona bring Xavi some kind of proposition about signing a player or offloading a player. It's reported that Xavi, whenever he has doubts, he usually likes to talk about Fernando de Navarro, kind of to like gauge his opinion. Fernando Navarro was key, was instrumental in the signing of Jules Koundé when negotiations had hit a stall between Barcelona and Sevilla for Jules Koundé. Xavi called up Fernando Navarro, said, "Hey, I need your help. Let's make this signing happen." He was instrumental. It was thanks to him that that negotiations were able to proceed, and Barcelona were able to sign Jules Koundé, who, in my opinion, is one of the best signings in the last few years. And now Xavi has asked Barcelona to please consider Fernando Navarro as a possible replacement for Matteo Alemany. Now, Fernando Navarro has extensive contacts in the footballing world. He has a lot of good relationships with not only clubs, but also with footballing agents and representation agencies. He is considered someone who is very good or a specialist as a scouter. He's very good at recognizing young talent. He's an expert in analyzing the market and analyzing matches. So he's definitely someone who knows what he's doing. And Xavi thinks that he would be a great addition to the club. And Barcelona are considering it, but this is not for sure. They need to talk to Sevilla. They need to talk to the player, to the guy, Fernando Navarro, and see whether he would be willing to come. Now, if Fernando Navarro does come to Barcelona, they're talking about would be in a combination with Deco. So the two of them would kind of take over the role of Matteo Alemany. And of course, all of this is heavily dependent on what happens with Jordi Cruyff. If Jordi Cruyff leaves, then there is the possibility of Deco and Navarro working together. If Jordi Cruyff stays, then it most likely would be just Deco and no one else. But again, a lot of this will be determined this week when Deco is set to meet with the board of directors to try to decide on the future of the replacement of Matteo Alemany. I personally like Fernando Navarro. I think he has done wonders in the footballing market. I think he would be a great addition, not just to sign and offload players, but I think he would be great to have someone who can recognize young talent, because that's something that we need, especially given the financial situation of the club. You know, we need to start signing like other clubs, like, I don't know, like Porto, like Monaco, like Ajax, Dortmund, you know, clubs who sign young talent for 2-3 million euros and then become stars and they sell them for 100. Now, we don't have to sell them because we're not a selling club like those other clubs. But man, if we can sign, you know, some young talent, they can end up exploding, you know, like Leo Messi when we signed him at 12 and becomes the best player. If we can get back to those ways, I think that would be great. And I think Fernando Navarro could be someone who can help us get there. But again, all of this depends on whether Jordi Cruyff would leave, which as of now, looks like he's mostly out more than in, but nothing's final yet. That's all the news, guys. We have a few more minutes to go through the chat section, keep a discussion going. Lots of news. I told you guys this was going to be a crazy week, and it's so far living up to it. 77 people watching, only 20 likes. Come on, guys, let's get those likes up. Let's make it 77 people watching with 77 likes. You know, likes are actually very, very important for the channel. That helps the YouTube algorithm, you know, recommend the video to other people. The more likes the video gets, the more YouTube recommends it to people. So likes are actually very, very important. It only takes a second. It's free. So help me, guys. Help me out, guys. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. All right, Grandmaster Yoda says, what do you think about the 23-24 kit? I made a video about it. I posted the pictures on that video. Interesting design. It's more retro with the big stripes, the darker colors. I like it. I don't know if you're talking about the main one or the second one, which is going to be white. Let me know down in the comments. David says in India. Wow, 5 a.m. in India. Thank you, David, for tuning in. By the way, I love Indian food. Thank you guys for making such amazing cuisine. Raul says, now would be a good time for someone like a Pedro Rodriguez to come out of the academy. Yeah. I mean, we do have, I can't say the academy is not doing its job. You know, we do have Lamine Yamal, we have Stanis, we have Alarcon, even Shad Riyad, who unfortunately most likely will probably end up leaving because there is no space on him on the squad. But academy is doing its job. But, you know, if we can also sign young players with talent, that also helps. Okay. Let's see. Where else? Where else? Ray says we need to sell Ferran and bring in Zaha. I like Zaha, but Zaha is 31 years old, if I'm not mistaken, either 30 or 31 or 30. I don't think if it makes sense replacing a 23-year-old with a 31-year-old. Because again, in 2 years, you're gonna be back in square one looking for another replacement for the replacement. That's the only thing. But I do like Zaha. All right. David says we need someone who can also offload some players for a decent price. Yes. So offloading players for a good price, it starts with signing players for a good price. Because what Bartomeu and Rosé were doing for the past 10 years was paying way too much for these players. So you're already at a loss. If you sign a player for 60 million, that's worth 60 million, and you sign up for 100, you're already at a 40 million euro loss. And the only way that you're going to make money if that player somehow just boom, like becomes Messi overnight and his value skyrockets from 60 million to 120, and then now you're up 20 million. Right? So offloading players for good prices starts with signing them for a good price. If you sign them for a good price and then their value increases, you make a profit. But if you're already signing them way above their market value, you're never going to recover that money. All right. Legacy says we need to focus on our right back. I agree 100%. The right back has been a big problem for Barcelona. Ever since Dani Alves left, nobody has been able to fill his shoes. You know, we've gone through some pretty terrible options like Semedo, Hector Bellerin, Sergio Robert, like all these just random players. And I think that is our weakness because we have Alejandro Valde on one side, who's become probably the top 3 left backs in the world, and one day will be no doubt the best left back in the world. And then you look at our right back, and it's like we have nobody. And unfortunately, that's a big weak spot, which many teams don't need much to realize that that's our weak spot and attack us through that side. Grandmaster Yoda says, do you think Alarcón will get more time next season? I really hope so. I've seen Alarcón with the Barca Athletic. I like what I see. I really hope so. Alarcón got injured today, out for 4 months. I did not know that. I was so busy with the whole Messi shenanigans that they didn't even pay attention to the Barca Athletic. Let's see. Raul says, hear me out. Cristiani, Roque, and Yamal. I don't know if Cristiani would be. I mean, he does have a lot of promise, but to go from Argentinian football to La Liga and be a starter in your first season is just not. It's not realistic. Even Messi had to come through the academy. Let's see. David says we could buy Diaz half with a South American team and take him in 2 years. I don't think Liverpool de Montevideo would be down for something like that. Adam says Frimpong is the dream. Yes, he is the dream, but unfortunately, dreams cost money, and that's something that we don't have. David says, can Abde make it in Barca? It's a tough question. I think I would rather wait for the summer and see, because like I said, I like what I see from him. He has a lot of flashes of brilliance. He's an electric player. He knows how to destabilize teams through the left flank. But unfortunately, he also makes a lot of decision mistakes. Now, we'll have to wait and see, because even at Osasuna, he's been decisive sometimes, but he's also been sometimes a little bit, he's erred a lot. So he's like, there's no middle, right? So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see until the summer. All right. Brad says, stop it. My dog is barking. Okay, Brad says, in our position in the soccer world as Barca, we should never sell a player for more than we buy them. If their value goes up, it's because they are performing well for us. Exactly. Yeah. We're not a selling club. That's not what we get players for. We get players so they can win us trophies, not so we can make money off of them. So I agree 100%, Brad. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing it up. And Adam says Vinicius was a terrible finisher too for the last 2 years. He became a superstar. Yeah, I agree. He had a lot of problems with his decision making. So Abde could be, that could be the case of Abde. We'll have to wait and see for the summer. Anyways, guys, I don't want to make this longer than it needs to be. Lots of crazy news. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for those who will be watching the stream when it ends. I will see you in tomorrow's video. And as always, peace, colors.